I am genuinely I am genuinely convinced that the very foundations of Hollywood was built so that creepy dudes could find some way to exploit women and children on screen and get away with it in the interests of art and finances. Let's talk about season 3, episode 1 of Euphoria. So, in this review of Euphoria happens years after season 2, which came out, 2022, 2023. I'll put it down in the video below. And so, you're expected to see that maybe some of these characters have evolved, have changed. And in real life, some of them have. Jacob Elordi, he's a big star. Zendaya, she's damn near queen of the earth right now. Um, and Cindy Sweeney is Sydney Sweeney. So, a lot of people have changed in some good and positive ways. Some people have not. You're expecting them to evolve um, on screen. That's kind of like the expectation. I'm sorry, even Hunter Schafer, she's a big star as well. But you expect a lot of these stars and a lot of the content that's coming out to kind of evolve with them, right? So when I checked out episode 1 of season 3, I was expecting a little bit more, and what I got was a lot less. I'm just gonna rapid fire some of the stuff that I saw. I implore you, if you want to, check out season 3, episode 1 of Euphoria. You don't have to, but I'm gonna be spoiling a little bit to a lot of what's going on in that episode. I'm sorry, I'm eating Altoids, so if you hear like cracking, I'm sorry, but I'm not really sorry. So in this episode, we first start off with Rue. She's the main character of the show, and shit hasn't been going well for her. She's out in northern Chihuahua, I guess that northern Mexico, and she's in a beat up Jeep Cherokee stuck in the mud. It's symbolic. I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she's trying to get out, and she has people that are helping her from the country that are helping her trying to get out. And immediately when I saw this happening, I was like, you're seeing her manic state. You're seeing that, in terms of mental state, she's kind of devolved. She's one of the characters that devolved. And I'm just gonna say this off the bat. Ever since I first started looking at Euphoria, it seems like, and this is no slight to Zendaya, it seems like her character, how she comes across, is completely different from the other cast. And probably other commenters have said this as well. She feels like she's in her own different show, and it doesn't feel like she's integrated well into the other characters, the plebes, the lower class of the show, so to speak. It seems like she has this protective armor. She's able to do and say whatever she wants to. She's isolated everyone in her life: her mother, her sister, you know, Fesco, um, Lexi, everyone that really kind of cared about her, that had kind of a vested interest in her. She's pushed them away, and so we're now seeing the cost of that. And in seeing the cost, it seems like she's just having these little fun manic adventures, and it just didn't sit well with me in terms of the visualizing and seeing her on screen. So later in the course of that episode, she's later found out to be a drug mule. She owes a lot of money to Lori. Remember Lori from season 2? She stole that suitcase. Her mom threw away a lot of those drugs, and now she has to pay that back. Lori tracks her down to this like smoke shop and says, like, you've been earning like 20% interest every day for the past like 2 years, so you don't owe like 10,000, you owe like 43 million or something like that. And just from this alone, like, if this had been anybody else in any else show, far worse things would have happened. And it seems like Laura's just like, I'm just gonna keep you on because that's how I was written in the show. I'm gonna keep you alive. I'm gonna keep you somewhat tethered to me for the rest of the show. And it just doesn't sit right with me. The consequences that Rue incurs just don't sit right with me. So during on in the episode, Rue is now been contracted against her will to be a drug mule, a body packer, and we see in graphic detail how that process is done. And I think this is as graphic as Sam Levinson wants to get with Zendaya without really getting graphic with Zendaya. And it's kind of like how he wants to kind of push the envelope and kind of showing her and however weird, disgusting situations he kind of pushed without going too far, because he knows Zendaya is probably telling him like none is going to happen unless I say so. So, and it's valid. But you see a lot of that in graphic detail, how she's able to swallow these big, huge fentanyl balloons, and how she can't do it all, so she hires in Big Lips. I'm sorry, I forgot her name. I'll put her name in there. And her and Big Lips, take are starting to pack the drugs and work out. But you see over the course of the run, Big Lips, she got to go to the bathroom, so she's passing gas, and Rue's trying to tell her they're at a crossing checkpoint within the Mexico border checkpoint in Mexico, and she's trying to tell her, listen, you got to lock it up, we're almost there, just hold on. She's trying, and then all of a sudden she can't hold anymore, and I'm not gonna say what happens, but Big Lips lets go. And what Sam Levinson decides to include in the show is truly disgusting. I don't understand why he did this. I don't know why, but he did it. So later, of course, in the episode, Rue visits Lexi. They're kind of still on again, off again friends. She has a place to stay. Even before that, Rue was traveling through the desert, and in her Jeep, her compatriots, trying to help her get over the wall. So they put up these like bars, and her Jeep gets stuck, so she can't really go over into California without some further help, and she leaves her Jeep stuck up on the wall, so it's kind of teeter-tottering on the wall. And so Rue gets out very dangerously, climbs down, is saved by that. She runs into a cultish Christian home in the California desert where they're very religious and almost like Amish type. And it's a big family, got like 6, 7, 8, 9 children, and they help her get back on her feet, help her, get a ticket to take a Greyhound. And the oldest daughter drives Rue to the Greyhound station, and the youngest daughter says, like, it must be so nice having internet, and it must be so nice having social media. I kind of always wondered what that was like. And it was like, I would trade places with you in a second. And the girl's like, well, what do you mean? And then Rue turns up the radio up, loud, and kind of ignores her. And it's just like another thing of me being detached from the character Rue. I just don't understand how she's still existing, how she's still in the state she's in, how she's being saved. And I know that, a lot of this stuff happens in real life. Some people they push everybody away, they isolate everybody away. And for some reason, Lord above has a plan for them. And, they're able to kind of sidestep some of those raindrops, some of those really disastrous elements. But for some reason, she's just saved in the most weirdest ways. It takes me out of the entire series. It takes me out because she's plot armor, a character. And then I'll move over to another character with this, and I'll jump back into Rue towards the end, because Rue is trying to find something in life to kind of hold on to not let go. She can't hold on to friends, she can't hold on to lovers, she can't hold on to a job, she can't hold on to school, she can't hold on to any goals in her life. So she wants to try to find religion, and what she does is she just is addicted to one. She's zero focus. She has maximum focus on that one thing until it just until she obliterates it. So she's now finding religion. And we move over to the next character, Cassie. Cassie, played by Sydney Sweeney. A lot of things have happened. She's now engaged to Nate Jacob Elordi's character. Live in this big house, but not everything is like it seems. They're kind of struggling financially. Nate took over the construction business after his dad, the late Eric Dane, and so he's trying to make a place called Sun Settlers. So he's envisioning that, in the next 10 years, we're going to need hospice care for a lot of the baby boomers and millennials. And what better way to do that than create a community, all-inclusive community, to kind of support that end-of-life care, and creating Sun Settlers. And this massive, like, Disneyland-esque community to support that. It's not really taken off the ground, so what he kind of did was he has his construction crew every day act like they're doing work to kind of raise the funding and capital to make sure that happens. So that's not really going well. But Cassie, she decides, well, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just pretty. I'm just staying at home. I don't have a job. I barely have any friends. So what better thing for me to do is like start posting online. So she's posting in a dog costume. She's shaking her tail. She has like a painted nose on her nose. She has a dog costume, and she's performing for the gram. She's doing stuff for content, and she's thinking about doing OnlyFans because she can see how the massive appeal financially and socially she can gain from being on OnlyFans. A lot of this is just like, why? I mean, I know Cassie. For some people, Cassie was a great character. In season one, there's a lot of potential in her character, not only just in her looks, but just her psychopathy. What she's trying to do, where she's trying to go. She was with McKay, and McKay was an asshole. You didn't know what he wanted. And then she went with Nate, and then she was fighting with Maddie, and it seemed like she was trying to find her way by navigating relationships and trying to find herself and stuff like that and stand up for herself. But it just seems to just fizzled and petered out towards season 3, and so now she's a cam girl. And there's nothing wrong with that. You do you, but it just seems like we're kind of like taking parts of Sydney Sweeney's life, the exploitative nature of her what she's doing, the desperation of what she's doing actually in Hollywood, and we're kind of transposing that into the show. And it just seems like it's just lazy writing. Sydney Sweeney, I don't really care for that much, but there is a glimmer of acting talent within her, and I think that it's not being utilized for this show. And it seems like she's the only cast member who actually needs this show versus the other cast, and it seems like that's what baby Tarantino is noticing. I know that you need this show, so I'm gonna like put you in these like situations and write you in a certain way to kind of get you on that show. So I've already talked about Nate. He is struggling. He is trying to balance his new career and some of his misgivings for being with Cassie. And Jacob Elordi, you can kind of tell how when he's acting, it's just like I'm just trying to collect this check and wait for this season to end. He's kind of, his trajectory is already up. He doesn't need this job, and you can tell some of the acting is kind of flat. He just doesn't seem like his heart is in it, and I don't blame him. This show is kind of beneath him now. It's beneath the Zendaya, and they're just burning the clock. You can see it in this episode. You can see that. We go on to Lexi. Lexi, she's now a Hollywood assistant. She's helping out, her producer and director, played by Sharon Stone, which was really great. It was great to see Sharon Stone again. And season 2 kind of ended in this big, eventful bash. She had this whole musical planned out, and everything technically went well creatively, but it didn't go so well. But she's trying to find herself. And she's really good at what she does. She's doing what she needs to do. But I felt that it didn't give a lot of stuff to her. It was more of a ruse show for this episode, and I think that's what in every Euphoria has. Like each character has their own kind of time to shine in their episode, and I think we're kind of seeing shades of like where everybody's at since the kind of 2 years in the show. The show has not been on. I think it's been more than 2 years. I think it's like 4 or 5 years since the actual show has been on. We move over to Maddie. Maddie, she's also in Hollywood. She's also a supportive individual. She's helping a new rising talent. I put the guy's name down there. She's using her connections to kind of get him to where he needs to be. She's really good at what she does, but she works for somebody else. So she makes about 10% of whatever her star makes, and then she has to kick that back to her manager. So at the end of the day, you can see her, you think that she's living in this nice house. They show a scene of her, and she's like in this kind of like basement loft apartment, whatever, making like $900, a day, which is not, bad, but it seems like she's busting her ass to kind of get to the spot that she needs to be. And a lot of these stories are kind of commingling together. You see that there's a scene with Cassie. She's trying to be known. She's been doing this Instagram thing for a while, and she hasn't really got any traction. So she's turning to OnlyFans, but she sees that, Maddie, she's kind of taken off. She's already in the industry, and you can see the kind of wheels turning in her mind. Well, okay, she's looking on Instagram and seeing Maddie and what she's doing, and she's saying like, okay, maybe she doesn't say it out loud, but you can see like the machinations in her mind. Like, okay, maybe I need to kind of bury the hatchet in order to get to where I need to be. and break bread with Maddie to help me get to where I need to be. Um, I'm gonna jump back to Rue because the episode ends in the most weirdest way possible, but it sets up foreshadowing of what could possibly happen to Rue. One of Lori's sidekicks ask her she has a job to do. She has to deliver a bag of fentanyl to this really shady character. And we see Big Lips. She's kind of taking her time and putting the pack together. And the guy that is hiring Rue that works for Lori, he's kind of in love with Big Lips. He's really abusive to her, verbally abusive to her, but he wants to cook her a chicken dinner. And so Big Lips delivers the fentanyl to the guy. The guy hands it to Rue, and Rue is off on her way. They show a scene of the guy about to make the chicken dinner. He takes the chicken and he rams the chicken's head into these like two like rebars, I think with blades or whatever, and he rips the head off of the chicken. And a lot of the symbolism, you see like a snake on the side of the road. You see the chicken being his head cut off. Rue's watching a television show where she's seeing a head sticking out of the sand. A lot of it's like very symbolic, Christian themed to kind of let you know that, something is foreshadowing here, you know. And so Rue, she goes over to this place, this big, huge mansion on the hill, and apparently it's run by this mega pimp called Alamo, played by the guy that played IBC. He also played Killer Croc in Suicide Squad. I forgot his name. I put his name down. I'm so sorry. But he's a really good actor. I really like him. It was good to see him again. But he's playing this like mega pimp, country Texas pimp, whatever, in California. Rue hands the drugs to his security guard B, and so the guy B, he doesn't really trust Rue. He tells her like, "Listen, give me the drugs." Rue asks to go to the bathroom. He's like, "Listen, it's upstairs on the right, but go upstairs, look at stuff, but don't touch anything. Don't get into anything." Of course, Rue doesn't follow that. She's Rue, right? And so she's going around, looking around, checking stuff out, and she sees like all these women. They're all naked and dancing and, you know, partying, and she sees Alamo chilling, and then Marshawn Lynch is in the episode. He's part of the crew of Alamo's crew, and the whole vibe is like very dark, very sinister, very like this is next level darkness. But Rue's just like jumping head first into it, you know, and she's looking for a way out. She's looking for a way out to get out from under Lori, and you could see kind of like what she's trying to do. And she is caught by the guy, Alamo, and he wants to see her. He's like, "Listen, I see you dancing with my girls, and you didn't even ask me. You know, you're partying. You didn't even ask that you asked my permission if you want to party." And she's like, "I'm sorry, man. I just like your whole setup and stuff like that." You know, Rue's affect is like, "I'm just chill. I'm just trying to, you know, hang." And I know confidence goes a long way. You can do a lot of things just by being confident and sure of yourself. But again, her whole affect, the way she's written, it's just like this person would not, I'm assuming, it's a heavy assume, but this person would not even be breathing if this was like actually real life. Like this person would probably be trafficked or worse, you know. But like for some reason she's dodging those raindrops. She's chopping it up with a probably killer and a pimp and a trafficker of women. And she's like, "Listen, man, I'm just gonna come out straight. I'm gonna just shoot you straight. Like, I like what you're doing. I like your whole setup. I like your whole vibe. How can I get a job with you? How can I be down with what you're doing?" He's like, "What? You trying to be a hoe?" And they all start laughing. No, I ain't trying to be a hoe, but I'm trying to, you know, how can I like be a part of your crew and like help out, you know, with troubleshooting. You know, you might somebody. She doesn't say all this, but she says troubleshooting. She's like, you know, you have some problem with girls. I can you know, help out. I can be there. I can be there for them. You know, I can problem solve for you. And he's like, "Oh, okay. What? That's interesting. Like, what would make you want to do that?" And meanwhile, while she's chopping it up with Alamo, one of the random women of the night takes a fentanyl, and she has an overdose. And so B's like, "This shit was laced with fentanyl." They didn't know it was laced with fentanyl. They thought it was like X or something like that. That's how it was packaged. It looked like X, but it was laced with fentanyl. And so it's like, "Yo, why you coming in here and trying to sell us fentanyl? You know, damaged fentanyl?" And they hold her at gunpoint. She's like, "Whoa. listen, if I had known that, I would not have even like stayed here. I would not even come up the driveway or whatever. And they take her out back. She's like, okay. She's like, listen, I think the reason why I've been here, why I met you, because I'm kind of getting all these kind of facts out of the place. The reason why I met you and why we're here is because I think God put us in this position to, to meet, to be with each other. And I think this is fortuitous. And he's like, oh, you like God, right? You into God, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of, yeah. And he's like, okay, we're gonna see if God loves you. And so they take her out back and they put like this green apple, symbolism, biblical, get it, on her head. And B's like, whatever you do, it's best that you do not move. And Rue's crying, she's holding it together, she's trying not to move, her eyes are dotting back and forth or whatever. And Alamo holds his gun and he's getting ready to shoot, and he doesn't shoot her, he shoots the apple, and Rue starts laughing like, yes, it's true. And so the show ends, and I'm gonna wrap it up now. I don't know. I'm definitely not the demographic for the show. I'm like decades older than what this demographic is, but I could tell that like this thing was rushed. I could tell that this thing it did not need to happen. The look of the show has a very Kill Bill, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction vibe to it. It's moved far away from what the classic, that dream pop glitter, zillennial, look of the show was back in 2021 looked. It's moved so beyond that. It's now doing this GTA thing, and it just none of it. I know it's just the first episode, but none of it worked for me. None of it sat. I was looking at Rue, and like even in season 2 and much of the latter part of season 1, I was just exhausted on Rue because her story, her character, just does not fit. And maybe this is why this show kind of really just is falling off the rails, because Sam Levinson has a problem with writing. He has a problem with writing something and getting away from the Gooner aspect. He has a problem with writing something to its completion. And I don't think he's really a great writer. I honestly don't. I mean, if you've seen Idol, if you've seen the way that he writes women, it's style over substance. And then when he wants to trample over into substance territory, he dials back into and ramps up back into Goonerville. And it's just like he just can't stay focused on like completing a train of thought long enough for it to be valid, long for it to be consistent, long for it to be, okay, this is the natural character progression of this character. I'm just going to show the exploitative nature of this character and go from there. And it obviously works. Like HBO, they've ran the ball with this man for years and years and years and stuff like that. They let him do whatever he wanted, and we get what we get. So I'm also seeing a lot of this stuff in Hollywood where we're mining back old series, we're mining back old IPs, and we're repackaging them and resubmitting them to an audience who long since no longer cares for this. And it's this almost hatred of the source material, or hatred of what the show used to be, in interest of maybe making a new IP, maybe making a spinoff, maybe making a video game or something, a book, something that's not what the intended source material was. Like I said in the beginning, for a lot of the season, he stole the style from a young artist, and you can tell that like on his own he cannot craft the continuation elements of the story of where it needs to go, because he's just taking things from pop media, he's taking things from the cast members on reality, and he's implanting them into the series, and it just comes off as just desperate, just messy, just exhaustive. It just doesn't work. I don't know. I'll depending on how well this video does. If you guys want me to review episode 2, I'm going to be spoiling most of the season because I really don't care doing a spoiler-free review. If you guys want me to do episode 2 of season 3 or the rest of the series like this, let me know. Do the likes, this really helps out. So yeah, I'm gonna just go from there. I don't know where this show is going. There are shades of so many other shows and movies in this first episode, and I can see the connective tissue where what he's trying to do. I can see stylistically there are some things that he's doing that seem to be improvements, but they seem to be borrowed from other things. They don't seem as heavy and weighty as they should be, and you can tell the cast they're just done with this show. Jacob Elordi, Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, all of them. Like we haven't seen Hunter Schafer. She didn't appear in this episode, but she was talked about in this episode. But like just what they're doing, where they've come from, where they're going, it just doesn't jive with me. So I don't know. Like I said, if you like this, feel free to like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Helps with the algorithm, yada yada yada. And that's all I got. Cabs out.